The polar vortex is here and it's going to cause a lot of problems from the cold air to the sneaky snow and ice storms that are going to initiate on the leading edge into parts of the south and the east. I've got everything you need to know from now to what's next in this forecast, so stick around for all details in the next 10 minutes. Alright, you're taking a look at the hazards map here as of your Saturday morning. You can see we've still got lingering blizzard conditions swirling around in the Midwest after that most recent winter storm. Some lake effect snow still going on around the Great Lakes region here from that, but most of that winter storm beginning to depart with just wind wrapping around behind it. New winter storm watch has been issued. You can see it from eastern Oklahoma all the way on over to Tennessee for our next one. We've also got winter alerts for that one right now that is imminent there into parts of the Mountain West. By the way, if you enjoy this forecast, please hit subscribe for accurate, easy to understand, and passionate forecasting. I do videos and streams so you stay in the know. Now let's get into that overview with the Guru model. You can see the snow that's with this most recent winter storm still wrapping around and impacting parts of the Great Lakes. We've also got very heavy rain, some ice, and some snowfall into parts of the Pacific Northwest. The heaviest of snow in eastern Oregon, parts of Nevada, Idaho, as well as northern Utah. You can see here we go. We've got cold air really sinking on down into the central plains ahead of this next system, and this is how cold it will be: 30, 40, 50 degrees below normal for this time of the year. Those are not the actual temperatures, although wind chills will get quite close to this in many cases, negative 30, negative 40. We'll show you that later in the video, but you can see we'll have the snowfall moving through parts of Utah, the northwest Colorado, as well as southern Idaho and southern Wyoming. That's going to set the stage for our next little system here. You can see how that enters parts of the plains, and look at how we get a little bit of some snow, some ice getting going there over the Arklatex region. A lot of this looking to be light to moderate precip, but where it is heavy, it could cause problems and slippery spots on the roadways, especially there in northeast Texas, northern Louisiana, as well as central and northern Mississippi with that ice concern. Looking at this, it does look like some heavier snow can maybe kick off in some southern Arkansas zones as well as the system kind of gets its act together. Right? This is on our Monday, and this system will continue to kind of initiate as we go into our late day Monday and into our Tuesday. Here's that winter storm severity index for all the way through our Monday here from when I'm filming this on your Saturday. You can see that winter storm first bringing those impacts into parts of the Mountain West, some of those oranges and higher terrain of the Four Corners region. And then we also see those moderate impacts start to stretch on out here over parts of Arkansas, northern Mississippi, and southwestern Tennessee on Monday. Of course, before that, we've got those concerns with some snowfall on the lakes here in the northeast. Now, Lake Michigan, some spots up to 6 to 12 inches in this zone I'm about to circle here into western Michigan. But of course, our main totals are going to come off Lake Erie as well as Lake Ontario there, as we're going to have very heavy snowfall moving on into places like Watertown, New York. We've also got this little snow band that's going to move through the southern New England zones as we go through the day tomorrow. Notice that pushes first through Appalachia and PA in the morning on your Sunday, and as we go Sunday midday into the afternoon, Albany, New York, southern part of the state of New York, even towards New York City, and then eventually towards Boston, some heavier snow. Here's what we're looking at: snowfall for the next 48 hours. You can see those totals piling up close to a foot or a little bit more off Lake Erie and Ontario, but also notice that little bit of snow that moves through parts of Pennsylvania, a couple of inches possible on our Sunday here as that little snow squallish like band moves on through. So we'll have to kind of monitor that. We'll have some gusty winds with it, see if this could cause some blowing snow and moderately blizzard-like conditions. But where we're also going to have blizzard-like conditions is with heavy snow and wind back here into the Mountain West. Parts of Utah, as well as Colorado in those higher elevations of the Rockies here. 24 to even 48 inches of snowfall not out of the question here. This is some very heavy accumulation. Also watching for ice in northwestern Oregon, by the way. Now let's get into the breakdown of our next winter storm here, because I know that's what everybody's dying to hear about. Look at this developing over the Arklatex region as we make our way Sunday afternoon, the same time that little snow band is moving through the northeast. We've got a little light snow here in northern Oklahoma, and then a patch of some kind of icy mix here into the Arklatex region there. And this is going to include northern parts of Louisiana, northeast Texas, southwest Arkansas. And look at how the system kind of quickly gets its act together. And by the time we're going into the afternoon hours, we're looking at that snowfall really settling on in here over central and northern Arkansas, including Little Rock all the way on up towards Fayetteville, Memphis, Tennessee, some snow. But if we're looking at a main zone where we're going to see some of that heavier ice begin to really set on up, it's in that yellow zone I just circled there. Southwest Arkansas, northeast Texas, and far northwestern Louisiana. I think a pocket of some pretty extended ice accretion may be occurring there. We might have freezing rain falling for 24 hours here in some locations, especially just east of Dallas. So we'll watch that. We'll also watch the snow that'll spread eastward through parts of central and southern Tennessee, Clarksville, Tennessee, on down to Chattanooga. It's going to be a close call for Chattanooga, but I do think as the day goes on, we'll see some settle on in late Sunday night and into our Monday at this point, by the way. And as we go early Monday Monday morning, still dealing with maybe a freezing rain event there over the Arklatex, and still dealing with some snow, at least light to moderate snow, over parts of the south central Ohio Valley, kind of the Tennessee Valley region. Now, your forecast ice accretion out of the Euro model, this is a little bit excessive, I would say, especially right there on the Arklatex border with a half an inch to 3/4 of an inch of ice accretion. But I definitely think around 1/4 to a half an inch of ice will be possible in the higher zones, especially where I circled earlier on that map, all the way back over to Dallas, so maybe a couple of tenths of an inch of ice accretion at that high end. Now, your probability of snowfall of at least 1 inch in the 24-hour time frame, look at this. It is well over 90% there over southern Arkansas, far northern Mississippi, southwestern Tennessee as we go through the Sunday, Monday time frame. As we go towards midweek, so this is as we go Tuesday to Wednesday, we'll have to watch through the eastern Tennessee, through the western Carolinas, but especially up here through Appalachia and into southern New England for the chance of some heavier snowfall, at least maybe a 40 to 50% chance in a place like New York City for an inch of snowfall in 24 hours, according to that Euro ensemble. Then after that, we'll turn our attention back on over to some of the snow getting going there into the northwestern U.S. But here are those snowfall totals here over parts of Tennessee. We'll see some heavy snowfall all the way from parts of eastern Arkansas. Right around Little Rock is where the heavier snow swath starts. This goes all the way on up into parts of West Virginia, but the heaviest totals are going to include far eastern Arkansas here into parts of Forest City, Stuttgart, as well as Helena and West Helena, and then over into Memphis, through Jackson, Tennessee to Nashville, and then far southern Kentucky and Somerset and London. Those are going to be some of our heaviest totals line on up. Notice some of those purples showing up. That's where locally maybe 6 to 8 inches of snow will be possible, and this is a model blend, so it's a good little graphic to look at with some kind of the different totals blended together from those different models. All right, now the next big story that we have is that Arctic blast. Dangerously cold wind chills expected with sub-zero wind chills affecting most of the U.S. and reaching into parts of the South. Wind chills this weekend will fall minus 30 degrees from the northern Rockies to northern Kansas and into Iowa. Values will drop as low as minus 65 into parts of Montana and the western Dakotas. These wind chills, of course, giving you that hypothermia, that frostbite risk as well. So have a cold survival kit if you must travel. It's going to be snowy in the west coast and into the Rockies with that ice in Oregon that I mentioned earlier. Wintry precipitation entering the mid-south by the time we go towards late Sunday. And of course, hazardous cold to persist and redevelop. There's going to be some redevelopment of that cold air over the Midwest as we head Wednesday into Thursday. That's going to sink southeastward and bring, in fact, maybe even a bigger cold blast than the first one, at least for communities in the southeast that will be bigger. So I'll show you that here in just a second, but let's start off with those wind chills here as we make our way into our Sunday morning, waking up negative 40, negative 50 wind chills over the Dakotas, eastern Nebraska, as well as on and over towards Des Moines, Iowa. This is bitter cold. Chicago, well below zero in the wind chill department. All the way on down to Dallas as we make our way towards our Monday morning, it'll be around 10 for the wind chill. But again, notice this really cold stretch. Everywhere north of this line that I'm drawing right now is below zero for a wind chill at this point on your Monday morning. This is a solid, 30-40% of the land of this country. This is a lot of cold air settling over the northern U.S., and it's especially going to be prominent even as we go Monday night into our Tuesday, negative 20, negative 30 for wind chills over pretty much the entirety of the northern plains, even into the Great Lakes. And then we'll kind of start to watch some of this colder air sink southward, parts of Tennessee, the mid-south, as well as the Ohio Valley getting into those 5 to 15 degree range, even a little bit colder than that at times. And here we go towards Wednesday. It's still settling around over the Midwest, the Great Lakes, even parts of the interior New England. Notice some of those 10, 5, even down to 5 for wind chills into parts of Mississippi and down into Alabama. We get a little bit of relief as we go Wednesday afternoon. The colder wind chills below zero look to stay closer to Canada at that point, so we're getting a little bit of a break, especially over parts of the central U.S. for a very short period of time. And then look at these colder air values that get going, especially late Thursday and into our Friday. These are going to start in the Midwest at that point, negative 15, negative 20. Again, this is what I was talking about that initiates mid to late week there. And then look at how these colder wind chills are going to continue to head on down to the south and east. It's like deja vu with negative 30, negative 40, negative 50 wind chills over Iowa and surrounding zones at this point. That cold air just going to continue to make its way southward, and this time as we head into the weekend over the southeast. Look at how cold some of those wind chills get in the Carolinas, Virginia, maybe into that 0 to 10 degree range over a good chunk of the southeast, and very atrocious cold now, including parts of interior New England and the Midwest. And here's what that looks like here on your anomaly map. Again, here's that first bout of cold air sinking on down into the central U.S. This is as we go Tuesday afternoon. The entire central corridor, especially well below average. Anomalously speaking here, though, it's not that bad in comparison to average here over parts of the southeast. Notice some of those blues and purples will briefly hit the east coast, but overall kind of fade quickly as it does so. But look at how the second batch begins moving in Wednesday and into Thursday over the north central. That sinks southward Friday into Saturday, and look at those deep purples, those magenta-ish colors there over parts of Kentucky, Tennessee, the western Carolinas, both of the Virginias there, so Virginia and West Virginia. So very, very cold air, and multiple rounds of it, and in some cases the second round will be worse than the first one for some of us, especially if you live in the southeast and the east coast. Eventually, though, there is some positive signs that we might see ridging develop back over the north central, but the problem with this cold air being as dry as it is, that means not as many snow chances overall, so we'll have to see if something can penetrate that later this week in the southeast and give some benefits to those who are snow lovers. Anyway, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, hit subscribe, and hopefully I'll have something out soon.